Good morning. I'm going to call the Weber County Commission in order, into session. It's the Tuesday, the 30th day of June, the last day of June 2020. I appreciate those online and those in attendance being with us this morning. To my right is Commissioner Jim Harvey. To my left, Commissioner Scott Jenkins. We welcome you to our last meeting in June. We're going to start off with a Pledge of Allegiance given by our own Bryce Taylor, invocation by Commissioner Jenkins, and then thought of the day, Commissioner Harvey. We'll go to that point. Bryce?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks this wonderful morning for the opportunity we have of being here, for the recent rain we've had, for the wonderful county we live in, and we're grateful for the opportunity we have of commissioners of serving the people of this county. We pray that Thou would watch over and attend us in our actions and in our duties, and bless us that the decisions that will be made today will be in the best welfare and benefit of those citizens who live in this county and populate it. We're grateful for Weber County, Heavenly Father, and the heritage that it has, and the heritage that it brings from our early settlers. It serves us well. We're grateful for the opportunity we have of serving as commissioners, and we pray that Thou would enlighten our minds, that we will make proper decisions, that the decisions we make will be in the best benefit of the citizens, and certainly support the freedoms that we believe in and property rights of the people who dwell in this county. We're grateful for all the blessings that Thou hast bestowed upon us, and we ask that Thou would attend us this day, and we do it in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, commissioners. It was back on a sunny day in the summer of 1980 that my father went with me for the first time ever in my life when I was able to cast a vote. I had just turned 18 years old, and he made sure that I was trained up properly. That's what dads do. And I remember going to the home, I believe their last name was Gailey, in Riverdale, to do that, and how I signed in, and I had my driver's license, and they verified who I was, and I got to register to vote. I never forgot that experience. That was a landmark experience, and I've been privileged to vote in every election except for while serving an LDS mission ever since. I didn't know about absentee ballots. I think we do that much better today. How grateful I was to be able to use that opportunity to share my feelings on who I thought would represent us in the various organizations or government organizations, whether it's federally or via the state or the county, or even at times in the city. I can tell you, commissioners, that I believe in the process of voting. I believe that's how respectful people voice their opinions. I don't know of a person with any status, shape, size, or color who doesn't like being respected. Every person likes respect, and every person deserves a measure of respect, and I believe that when you respect a person, you get a lot more from it. I want this body to know that I have every confidence in the world, having come from that side, but also being a candidate that I trust Weber County's election process. The vote by mail has been exercised now for 7 years in this county, and we have improved upon that each time there's an election, whether it be municipal or otherwise. The processes by which the votes are received, kept private, are calculated, and the results are then given, I've got confidence in. I've seen it firsthand. And we've got a video on our website that shows that process. I've watched through my own kids just haphazardly signing the envelope, their ballot be questioned or denied because they took it lightly. It gave an opportunity to teach there. The signature has to match what's historically been on a signature in the past. I've also spoken with Ricky Hatch about this, about people who try to manipulate the system. And he reported back that the last time there was an election, of the 100,000 ballots or so that were sent out, there were 18, if I'm remembering that number right, that were questioned. And out of that, each one was validated correctly except for one, and that person is indicted or being indicted by the FBI. It's taken very seriously, and I appreciate that. So whatever you hear from whatever media source you choose to get your news from, I'm telling you from my personal experience that you can trust what's happening in Weber County. If you want to question that, please come and see for yourself. We're open. We're transparent. We're ready to inform. And if you think you have some ideas on ways to improve that, we welcome your comments. So today's the day for voting. I would be remiss to tell you that about the one voting location in Weber County, where we've been lucky to have different places around the county, but through COVID, to have safe distancing, we needed to be more thoughtful this cycle. And so that voting is taking place right now out at the Weber County Fairgrounds, inside the 21,000 square foot exhibit hall. So we can have plenty of indoor space, out of the weather or the sun, the rain, whatever have you, and you've got plenty of space to distance and be safe to cast your ballot in person. The Golden Spike Event Center is located at 1000 North, 1200 West here in Weber County. And it's open. The ballots and polls are open right now until 8 o'clock this evening. And we have trained election personnel that are ready to receive you. I hope that you choose to exercise your right to respectfully cast your opinion about who represents you in government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Very appropriate for the day, for the election day. And as I have been often told through my life, if you don't take the time to vote, obviously you don't have the time to complain. So I think they go hand in hand. Thank you very much for those remarks.
Thanks.
With that, let's move on to public comments. Do we have anybody with us today that would like to come up and address the commission? If so, please come up now. Hey, don't rush the podium. All right. So seeing last chance that nobody would like to take the opportunity for public comments, let's move to consent items, commissioners. Consent items F 1 through 8. Consent item 1, request for approval of warrants 2854 through 2867 and 450-389 through 450-580 in the amount of $2,027,537.88. 2, request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $74,766.33. 3, request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on June 16th and June 23rd, 2020. 4, requests for approval of new business licenses. 5, requests from the Weber Morgan Health Department for approval to surplus 7 office chairs. 6, requests from the Weber County Ice Sheet for approval of a conference-style chairs. 7, request for approval of the Fourth Amendment to the track lease agreement between Weber County and Utah Central Railway, Inc. And finally, number 8, request for approval of Weber County Human Resources Policy number 3-1000, personal relationships. Questions or comments before we go to Lynn for further discussion? Looks like you're on.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just for the public's benefit, an overview of the largest of these expenditures. This week, we had 11 purchase orders totaling $75,000. $26,000 or 35% went to IT for renewing GIS mapping software. $20,000 or 27% of the transfer station for emergency staffing and equipment servicing. $13,000 or 17% to Parks and Rec for the archery range pump station. We had 208 checks totaling $2,775,000 or 38% of that went to employee medical insurance. $438,000 or 22% to the jail for a variety of services, nursing contract, food, camera system, and inmate mental health. $334,000 or 16% to corridor preservation, Pioneer Road in Marriott, Slaterville. Everything else was under 10%.
Thank you for that explanation. Additional questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I'd make that motion that we approve the consent items.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Consented items have been approved. Let's go to action items.
Chair, can I make a comment on
Go ahead.
this? Okay, I see on here we have a contract with Utah Central Railway. Sean and I went and met with Utah Central several months ago and talked to them a little bit about blocking the streets when they shift and cars, when they're regulating cars and moving them in and out. And the law allows them to block a road for up to 15 minutes, but sometimes we get more than that. Anyway, it was interesting. I chased one of them engines right down. He was on the edge of the road, and I run down the track and jumped in there. That guy looked at me like, "What are you doing?" Anyway, I think it's been a little better since we visited with him. We invited their manager over, and we have a good working relationship with us. They rent a little property, which is what this is for today, this track lease where they store a few cars. And we try to work with them. And I'm not saying that we've moved heaven and earth here, but we have a good relationship with them, and they're trying to do a little better in blocking these tracks. Now, you know, if you read the paper here a while back, it stated in there that the UP is lengthening their trains. And so their trains are a little longer than they used to be. But we have a specific spot. When the UP comes in from the west, and there's a road that, it's West 17th. Mm-hmm. So the West 17th goes and it crosses the track twice. Well, those darn trains are long enough now that once in a while we get a train in there that closes both intersections at the same time. It's over a mile between them, but those trains are long enough that once in a while you get that. And we've not talked to the UP yet about that. They're just waiting to get into the yard. And so, I'm not getting complaints like I used to. My son runs a Republic Waste down there, and they're in that loop. And they told us the other day that they were shut off for an hour down there, couldn't get in or out. Because
I was 28 minutes.
Were you?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
28 minutes.
Huh.
I had a couple of words for the UP, and it wasn't steam forward. It was.
Well, we might have to get hold of the UP, Sean, talk to them, because that's one The law gives them 15 minutes, but that's if they're, what do you call it? Switching. Thank you. That's if they're switching, changing cars. If they're just sitting there, I think they only got 5 minutes. So we need to talk to them about that.
I'd be glad to go personally on that. I want that 28 minutes back.
Yeah. All right, anyway, I just thought I'd report
No,
to that.
thanks. We appreciate your efforts on that. We know we've had a number of concerns, complaints. We've all experienced delays on 17th, on 12th, and some of these. Hopefully we can keep up some type of good relationship with the UP and the other, but sometimes that's a little more difficult than it appears. But appreciate your efforts,
You bet.
Commissioner. Okay. Let's move now to action items, if we might, if there's no other discussion on the consent agenda we just approved. Action item G1, request for approval of ratification of the 2020 tax sale properties. I've been asked to hold till next week. Is that correct, Christie? That's okay. So we're going to hold. We're going to move on to the next agenda item and hold those tax sale properties until next week. So let's go to action item 2, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Robert Favero for Favero's Legacy Cluster Subdivision Improvements. Felix
Yes.
Liverino, you're
Yes.
up. Felix.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Felix.
So it's a pleasure to be before you this morning and present this a proposal for a cluster subdivision. They're getting ready for final approval and ready to record the plat.
Thank you.
So the reason we're before you today is to mainly to look over this contract and also to accept this proposal and the public improvements that are being dedicated to the county, including roadway, public utility easements. There's also a preservation easement that's being preserved of the open space areas for cluster subdivision. And let's see here. So this proposal's been reviewed against zoning and subdivision and the previous cluster subdivision ordinance to ensure that that the regulations and standards have been adhered to. And this proposal includes a request for approval of the subdivision improvement agreement to create an escrow account for the amount of $56,323.56. On March 12th, 2019, the Planning Commission gave a positive recommendation to the County Commission for final approval of Favero Legacy Cluster Subdivision Phase 2. And the planning staff also recommends final approval of this proposal with the conditions stated in the staff report. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Felix.
Yes.
Questions for Felix regarding this subdivision approval?
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Can you just, and maybe it's just process, but help me understand if the Planning Commission approved it on March 16th as presented in today, why, and I know this is the final, there's been 3 months now, so why is there a 3-month period?
Well, there is a period between approvals that we like to get these things finalized. Once they get approval from Planning Commission, the clock starts to tick, and we just want to make sure that we get this thing recorded before time runs out.
Is that a acceptable amount of time, or is there a way to improve that process so those can go quicker? Or do we need to take more time? I mean, my question is solely having to do with time, and I'm always trying to improve the process so that we're as friendly, and sometimes time factors into friendliness. We have the most friendly environment to allow homeowners or developers to do with their property what they want to.
Yeah, for sure. Within the subdivision code, that's where the time limitations come into play. There's also, between getting final approval from Planning Commission and coming before this body, there is some avenues that the developer can take, and sometimes those can be drawn out. In this case, that's what happened. It was just drawn out because improvements, they always take time. And
yeah, and then getting your numbers together, I respect that. Just a question, that satisfies my...
That satisfying? Yeah, and I was going to say, a majority of the time spent really is contingent upon the developer providing the final documentation, improvement plans, et cetera,
yeah,
that the county really has no control over.
That's correct.
Is
yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Additional questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we approve contract between Weber County and Robert Favero for the Legacy Cluster subdivision improvements.
Thank you for that. I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you, Felix, for that presentation. Let's move to agenda action item 3, discussion and/or action on final approval of Somerset Farm subdivision Phase 2 consisting of 16 lots. Tammy Adelot, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning.
Good morning.
I may add just a little additional information to anticipate Commissioner Harvey's question. This is a request for approval of Somerset Farms subdivision Phase 1. This is a 3-phase subdivision. They're bringing Phase 1 before you today. Planning Commission recommended approval of this actually last summer, and the developer has spent this time installing improvements and getting their items taken care of with engineering and approved with engineering. So that's why we're coming before you today. This approval includes acceptance of road dedication, both continuation of existing county roads, as well as some newly created roads. This is located at approximately 2267 South, 3500 West in the A1 zone. And this first phase consists of 16 lots. They do have final approval for their water from Taylor West Weber as well as Hooper Irrigation, and they have annexed into Central Weber Sewer.
Thank you for that explanation. Does that conclude your presentation, Tammy?
I would say that there is in the staff report, we would recommend approval along with the following condition. Proof of annexation has already been provided to Weber County, but a fence must be installed along the Wilson Canal. If they don't install it, they need to escrow for it. There will be pathway requirements as they bring the other phases forward as well.
Very
Now,
good.
That would be it.
I'm assuming the developer is aware of those contingencies or requirements.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Questions, Commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve this contract or the final approval for Somerset Farms with the conditions and recommendations with regards to fencing as presented by Ms. Adelot today.
Thank you for that motion.
Se-
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Motion's approved, Tammy. Thank you very much. Let's move to 4, request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County authorizing the filing of cross appeals for 2020 centrally assessed properties. Mr. Cortland Erickson. Cortland?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. As you know, Commissioner Harvey,
Cortland?
good to see you. As you know, each year the State Tax Commission assesses properties within each county in the state that are basically cross-county lines. A lot of it's telecommunication companies, things like that. With these centrally assessed properties, the counties have the ability, if one of those taxpayers files an appeal, to request to join that appeal process. We call it filing a cross appeal. And so the taxpayers have about a 90-day window to do this, starting on May 1st, going through August 1st. So far, we've had one centrally assessed taxpayer that has property in Weber County file an appeal. When a taxpayer files an appeal, the county has 60 days to respond to that. Pacificorp is that taxpayer. They filed their appeal in mid-May, which gives the county until mid-July, about July 17th, to file a request to join that appeal if we would like to. And so there may be other taxpayers that file appeals in the coming month or so. So I may be approaching you again within the next couple of months to deal with those. But as of now, Pacificorp has filed an appeal. So the resolution that's before you is one that would authorize the county to file a request to join that appeal, file a cross appeal. So any questions about that?
And this just deals with Pacificorp in terms of their appeal, is that correct?
Correct.
No
because-
additional centrally assessed?
Right. They're the only ones so far with property in Weber County that have filed an appeal.
Great, thank you. Questions, Commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion that we authorize the filing of the appeal.
Thank you. Motion to
Second.
approve. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Commissioners, it's a resolution.
Oh, sorry. That's resolution 16.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Chair Faur.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, let's move to agenda item 5. Request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Post Brothers LLC to provide storage, maintenance, building, and outdoor storage for Weber County property management. Mr. Bryce Taylor, go ahead.
This is a 6-month agreement with Post Brothers LLC we've been leasing from these guys for quite some time, so this is a 6-month extension on basically what we've had, and hopefully this should be the last one that we have with them, so.
6-month extension at the same price, or?
It did go up. It went to $1,850 for the 6 months.
And my understanding is that through Commissioner Jenkins' work, we're looking at an alternative location for this before this lease expires.
Yes, yep. This 6 months should get us through the construction and the process of the new facility that we're moving to. That should be hopefully right about November, 1st of December, we should be wrapping up, so.
Great.
Yeah, so we've agreed that they're moving to the southwest corner of the 5-acre parcel that the county owns on 12th Street, right by the sheriff's office. In the back, there's a small home in the back they use as an office, and we've contracted with Roper Buildings now to build a couple of 50 by 200 storage buildings on there for them to operate out of. And those buildings will be located on there and kind of create a fancy little compound just for Bryce and his crew. It's going to work out really nice. And the money that they're paying here will be used to pay for this. And long term, it'll be a savings. And it'll work out really nice. I'm looking forward to it, aren't you, Bryce?
Yeah, we'll gain more space and more office space and storage space than what we are currently at, so be very nice.
Great. Commissioner Harvey, any questions?
Great work.
So, yeah, and my understanding is that Post Brothers would like to have occupancy this back. Their business is obviously expanding, so to me, this is a win-win situation. I always prefer if the county owns versus leases. And for that particular site, we have a zero land cost into it. And
Right.
with the existing building there that I've had to notify the sheriff that we'll be taking occupancy of approximately December 1st. That should give us some great space out there.
So they've notified us that they're going to start that. The owners of Roper they're busy this summer, so we had the bid in hand, and they told us they couldn't exercise that until October, which was just fine for us anyway. October works out good, and that's why we extended the lease. And so by the third or second week of November, that should pretty much be done, and then we'll have our roads department get in there and fix that road a little and clean it up and make it real nice. So he should be able to take occupancy December 1st.
Just a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Just to be clear, so we will own the ground and the building in this particular
That is
circumstance.
absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
And with the way it's being built, if we decide to locate something there or do something else, these buildings are actually very functional if somebody decides, if we do something else with that property. So for Bryce, it works out really good in his division, and for the county, it works out really good. So this is really a win-win. I agree. I'm
I
happy
agree.
with
Thank you
it.
for that, for your work on this, Commissioner.
Yeah.
So with that, I entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, if we can, or
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion, we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Post Brothers LLC.
And we
Continue that to maintenance storage for the property management.
thank you for that motion.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bryce. Let's go to agenda item action 6, request for approval of contract by and between Weber County and Skaggs to establish Skaggs as the primary vendor for the Sheriff's Office uniform services. Kristen Durant.
Good morning,
Welcome.
Commissioners.
Good
Thank
morning.
you. So what I have today is an approval for a contract for provision of uniform services with Skaggs. In March, the Sheriff's Office made the decision to put out for bid our uniform services and transition from a basic quartermaster to a yearly purchase of uniforms. We received bids from 3 companies, A1, Skaggs, and Curtis Blue Line. Skaggs brought back the best prices on all of the items that we order the most by a significant amount. For instance, one of the items are men's trousers. They bid at about $15 less per pair than the other 2 bids. So they have the best prices for us and availability and service as well. So we'd like to enter in with them.
Thank you for that presentation. Anything else you'd like to add? Commissioners, questions?
The question I have on this is, normally these uniform contracts are hard to get out of. Are we able to get out of this contract if we want to?
Yes, so we have a 1-year initial, and then it's an automatic renewal for 3-year periods and 1-year increments after that, where we can cancel any time at least 60 days prior to the expiration date.
Very good. All right, that's fair.
Good to know. Yeah, and that's pretty typical for this type of service. 1 year.
Well, you
Additional
say
questions?
typical. What ends up happening is she just said it, they're auto renewal contracts. And so you get in these auto renewals, and if there isn't a severability on it, you can't get out of them.
That's right.
Yep,
Why
and
it's
we have
important
in
to
here,
keep
we
track of
can,
those.
we can sever at any time with cause.
Thank you.
Yeah, put it on your tickler file, 60 days out if you want to change. Okay, additional questions, comments? If not, I'm ready for motion.
I'd make a motion that we authorize the contract between Weber County and Skaggs for to be the primary vendor for the Sheriff's Office uniform services.
Thank you. Second. And we second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Kristen, for being
Thank
with
you.
us. Let's move to agenda item action 7, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Zoom Grants to establish terms related to the use of Zoom Grants online application and grant management system. Holland Wilbanks, you're up. Welcome.
Thank you, appreciate it. Just as you read, this contract is the application process program that we'd like to use to administer the Weber CARES Act funding grants. And they have been amazing to work with. Brooke Stewart and Linnell Jensen have put in countless hours in the last 5 days working through their customer service, through their programming to get this in place. This is the contract that approves that. It's a 1-year subscription and a lump sum.
Questions, commissioners, on the Zoom grants? Now, I understand that they are basically ready to go anytime that we pull the trigger.
Yes, yes.
Is that
Again,
correct?
yes, the company's been fantastic to work with out of contract as we needed to get this approved. But we've already got the program in place with some edits as we evolve and grow this grant program since we've never had one before. But they've been remarkable to work with, and they can greenlight it like that.
Great. Good to know. I'm excited to see it up and going.
Me too.
Questions, commissioners, or comments?
Just a comment that I appreciate that Linnell, who's just graduated, I think, with not just a master's but a CPA degree, and Brooke Stewart's always been great with all of the cities working through the roads funds and the B&C and the active transportation and through the WACOG. She's just done a wonderful job, and 2 really, really qualified people handling the program. I have a lot of confidence because of what I know behind the scenes for that. So I'm very much supportive of Ms. Wilbanks, what's been done here, and the folks that are on the team there. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great team, and I know that they've already spent countless hours to get us to this point. Additional questions, comments? I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract by and between Weber County and Zoom Grants for the online application management system.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
We second. So just clarify the cost of that again. I know you told me.
$5,000.
$5,000, just so we know the amount, which seems pretty reasonable for what?
Or the year subscription and the type of customer service and program. They also have great auditing and reporting mechanisms that are built into it, and we have access to all of that.
Great. Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to action item 8. This would be approval for a resolution of the County Commission of Weber County appointing members to the Ogden Valley Planning Commission. This is the Ogden Valley Planning Commission. Commissioners, Mr. Grover.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Planning Commission is a voluntary board, and we have 2 terms that are up in the Ogden Valley. We have 8 people who have applied for this: Chris Phipps, Brady Hellstrom, John Lewis, Brenda Doris, Trevor Schumann, Troy Harold, Andrew Newton, and Ron Lackey. Bob Wood, his name is on there, but he's requested to not be considered at this time. So you have those names to consider. I know you've had the opportunity to interview those individuals, and those names are before you at this time.
So we have those names in front. I just would make a comment that we actually spent just about all the morning, plus a little bit, yesterday interviewing the candidates for both West Weber and Upper Ogden Valley Planning Commission, and I was very impressed, to say the least, with all the applicants. And to have that number of applicants that are that well qualified, I'll tell you what, just made my day to see that. I wish, quite frankly, we could appoint all of them, because they were all qualified. And I would hope that those that aren't selected today will keep their names on file, because we can definitely use their expertise and their professional education that they bring to the table sometime in the future. So I'd hope you pass that on to those,
I will.
to all the applicants, Mr. Grover.
You bet.
With that, questions, comments, or actions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Well, I would like to agree with what Commissioner Farrar says. We had a wonderful pool of individuals apply, and in our process of interviewing, it became very evident that these are all highly qualified individuals, and I don't believe there was a bad choice amongst them. It was wonderful. And it should also be noted that we weren't in 100% agreement with who to appoint, and I think that's good, because we all, in our own way, seen the different highlights of each individual. So I'd like to make a motion here today, and we'll see how this goes. I think it's going to pass, but we'll see.
Let's give it a try.
Yeah, that's right. First of all, I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint John Lewis. John is currently the chair, and he does a really good job, and I felt no desire to have him replaced. And so he's first in my motion. And also with him, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Ron Lackey. So those are the 2 nominees that I put forward today.
Thank you for that. So Mr. John Lewis, Mr. Ron Lackey are as part of the motion for the Ogden Valley Planning Commission. Discussion, comments, or a second?
Second with the comment.
Go ahead.
Wondered if I was going to get it there for a minute. Kind of that hesitation, you know?
You never know.
You know, one of the things I love so much about the work as a commissioner is you surround yourself with such quality people. And today it just kind of affirms, but also yesterday through the interview process, it's refreshing to see a group of individuals who, to me, expressed genuineness in wanting to give back to their community, to positively affect the grandchildren of their grandchildren with things that are planned. And that comment can be made, because we also interviewed people from the other side of the mountains, or the lower valley as well. It was just inspiring. I can support those 2 names. They were in my top bit. I can support that. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was your second.
That's my second.
Okay. Thank you. Any additional comments before I call for the vote on Resolution 17?
Commissioner Harvey?
Just to be clear, it's which resolution, Fatima?
17.
17.
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chair Faure?
Aye. Carries. Those are the two new appointees, and we appreciate, again, all those that taken the time to come down and spend time with us for the interview process. I couldn't be more proud of the citizens in Ogden Valley that really showed a desire to get involved with their community, and without any desire to have special privileges, but really looking after the entire valley is what I felt that those people really had the desire to do. So I'd encourage them to make sure that we could keep their names on record and call upon them for future endeavors, Mr. Grover.
Will do.
With that, let's move to Resolution 18, which is G9 under our agenda, which is request for approval of resolution of the Weber County appointing members to the Western Weber County Planning Commission. Mr. Grover.
Thank you. There are 3 members, terms that are up on this board, or Planning Commission, and the 4 applicants that have submitted their names is Jeanette Borkland, Bruce Nelson, Sarah Wickren, and Jed McCormick. And Commissioners, I just appreciate you guys taking the time before you make a decision on this one, just to have the interviews and to get to know the applicants. It's refreshing, and it just shows the due diligence that you have as a commission to look at the importance of these appointments, and I thank you for that.
Thank you. With that, it was decided, since I don't have a conflict with any of the people, location, in Western Weber County, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to put forth the names of Bruce Nielsen, Jed McCormick, and Sarah Wickern, thank you, for the Western Weber County Planning Commission. And that would be Resolution 18, I believe. That'd be my motion.
I'll second that motion with a comment again.
Go ahead.
You know, I need to say something. One of the things I was incredibly impressed with, all great talented people, but Miss Borkland, whose name wasn't mentioned, she served there for 12 years, but what an institutional knowledge, and she's been fair, she's been true to her character, voted with her own integrity. She's a wonderful communicator. I have a little mixed emotions here. And so I've got a thought, but with that, though, I'll second what you've put forward, Commissioner Faure.
Okay, that concludes your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins, any?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. You know, I really appreciate all these folks who serve. They've served with dignity, and they've put their heart and soul into it, and some have timed out, and others are having health issues, and they all serve in their own way the best they can, and they've done a wonderful duty to the county, and we should thank them. In fact, we ought to send them a letter.
Absolutely.
Definitely so.
You bet. Because I really appreciate what they've done. You know, serving on the planning commission is a little bit of a thankless job. I've done that. I've served on a planning commission. And you get into these things, and if you ask for something, everybody wants to see if it's required and what you're doing. And they scrutinize every move you make. So it's a tough job, and I appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate, we know that these planning commission jobs are not easy. They take a lot of pressure from neighbors, friends, and we just depend upon them to make the right decisions based upon the information they have to enforce our general plan and our code. And a good share of the time, if not all the time, they live up to that expectation. So with that, any additional comments, questions? Commissioner Harvey.
I just also, at this time, would like to thank John Park and Gene Atkinson for their service on the
Good point.
board. They've done a wonderful job, and I understand there's some extenuating circumstances here, but I wish them well, and great heartfelt thanks to them for their service.
I'll relay that.
And I'd mention Bob Wood in that conversation as well. Thank him for his service as well for that.
Yeah, you know, Bob, he's getting old.
He is.
He's between you and me.
You're older than me. I mean,
Yeah.
that makes you.
That's right. So he graduated in '69, and that makes him kind of old, Gage.
Well, I'll say, yeah.
I could see that.
So if those who graduated in '69 are old, what about those who graduated in '68?
Wow.
Yeah, they're real old.
Yeah. Check your yearbook.
That's right. Check my yearbook.
All right, with that, I'm going to place the motion following my resolution 18.
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chair Farrar?
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Rick. Let's go to the request for approval of resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Board of Adjustments. Rick?
We have one full-time position with the Board of Adjustments, replacing Phil Hancock, and then we have one alternate, and Neil Barker is the only applicant we have received for this. I have reached out to, because as Commissioner Harvey had mentioned, Jeanette Borkland, she has a wealth of knowledge, and she's been with the on the Planning Commission for 12 years. And I haven't been able to get in contact with her to see if she would be willing to consider being on the Board of Adjustment. But if she does, I would recommend that you look at considering Neil Barker as a full-time member and Jeanette as an alternate. And that's what we have for you to consider at this time.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
with that, thank you, Mr. Grover. Unless there's any other comments, that's a great recommendation. I would, because we have one applicant, it seems this is a no-brainer. I'd make that motion that we appoint Neil Barker, who lives in North Ogden, to that Board of Adjustments, and then if Ms. Borkland would consider bringing that treasure trove of knowledge back to us with this Board of Adjustments, I see that to be a perfect fit. The duties and time requirement are not as heavy on the Board of Adjustments, and I think that'd be where she has a desire to continue serving. I would love that. I think that'd be great as an alternate. That'd be great. So that would be my motion.
Thank you. We have a motion
And a second.
and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none?
Commissioner Harvey?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chair Farrar?
Aye. That'd be resolution 19. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Rick. Does that conclude?
One just note of information, the planning commissioners who have served, we do get them a memorable clock. It's fairly nice for their service, so we'll get that for their next meeting, FYI.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, that concludes our agenda items to that point. We're now to commissioner comments. Open for discussion or comments.
I will take a minute here.
Go ahead.
I want to thank all those that have served for the county, and those that are coming on, and those that are going off these boards. And it's interesting to be involved in the fine work that's happening in the county, and not just the quality of the work, but when you get down to the detail of some of these. We appointed a boundary, or a Board of Adjustment member today. Many people don't even know what the Board of Adjustments do. Well, years ago, when I was a mayor, I chaired with your cousin Zane the Boundary Commission. Well, it's hard. You don't even know what the Boundary Commission does at times, and it's really interesting to get into some of these and make decisions and work for the welfare and benefit of the citizens. And I say the citizens because you try to be fair, you know, with people and their right to manage and develop and move their property from entity to entity and area to area, and do things which is fair for them And as long as they keep it fair for the citizens around them, you want to allow them to do these things. And I really enjoyed getting to know Zane and working with him on that. And these are wonderful opportunities. So I appreciate all those who put their name forward to serve on these boards, many of them without any compensation, and they put themselves in the heat of the battle. And you know, this is truly where many of these battles are fought or waged, or, you know, and I guess I maybe shouldn't call them battles, but certainly there's a little heat at this level. And I appreciate them handling that. It's fun to watch them, and it's a wonderful thing they do.
Great experience. Thank you. Commissioner Harvey?
No, thank you.
Really? Okay. Last chance. All right, finally, only comment I have is that I was made aware that we have a birthday today from our commission office, our own Christy Bingham. Christy, would you please stand? I think it's only appropriate Commissioner Harvey sings you a happy birthday at this point in time. And we're gonna do like we do in the House, not the Senate, thank goodness. We're gonna have you come up here and stand in front of everybody. We're gonna sing happy birthday to you.
That's great. I'll do this. I'll be glad to sing, providing that the people in the room join me.
I think that's appropriate. Go ahead, you're the lead.
Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Christy. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Christy. All right, with that,
28, I think she said.
really, I was thinking more like 25, but okay. Wow, she's catching up with us, Scott. You better be careful.
That's right.
All right, with that, no other comments. Final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Non-debatable. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.